Jayant, what is your reaction to this situation? Because the violence is now getting out of control.
Very distressing and disturbing. And these are, young people who have aspirations and ambitions and who worked hard for their families and to get to this point. I think they should not lose hope. They shouldn't take the law into their own hands. Clearly, they should not be part of any protest that becomes violent. So I think all sides need to be very careful. Even the government needs to be very sensitive in its communication and in its handling of these protests, even if they are spiraling out of control. I think the way the agencies deal with the protests is very important. We need sensitive policing. We need the best officers to be communicating with whoever is agitating on the streets.
Now, Jayant, even in the area that you represent in Uttar Pradesh, it's a huge catchment area for the armed forces. Any number of people would want to try out for the armed forces. Among people you represent, what is the reaction that you're getting? They all want a pensionable job, right?
There's a lot of anger. They're feeling really, really hopeless at this point. You have to understand they've been trying for years. Since 2019, there has been no recruitment in the army. So they've been preparing and waiting. And they received assurances at various levels from government that very soon they will be recruited. And now they're being told it's a 4-year job and only maybe 25% of you will be kept. And the parameters of how the army will select them, those who are selected for the longer service, is not very clear.
You make an interesting point, because while the army is opening up this scheme, the fact is for the last 2 years they haven't been recruiting because of COVID. So the 46,000 odd seats for this particular scheme will now be, just the number of people who will be trying to get in would be much more, because there's pent up demand for 2 years. And on top of that, after 4 years, they'll have to leave, 75%.
In 2019, they recruited 80,000.
Right.
More than 80,000.
Right.
And now you're going to recruit 10,000 after 4 years.
Right.
So the first permanent job the government will give out in the army is in 2023.
Right. So no, you're saying that remaining 25%, right? And
yes,
that does come to about 10,000.
That's the real job. You know what people in the villages are saying? कि हमारे बच्चों की शादी भी नहीं होगी.
Are you calling upon the government to cancel the scheme, to bring amendments, or what is your view?
That's the only rational choice.
Do you think they're out of touch with the reality of how job security is absolutely critical? For generations, people have been trying to get into the army. It's the way it works.
You can't do experimentation with an institution like the army, which has deep roots in our society. Lot of traditions have been handed down by the British. But still, they're there for a good reason. Why are we trying to fix something that isn't broken?
No, but Jayant,
so therefore, this sort of decision making appears to be very rash, not very well thought out, and not very well communicated to the people that it is intended for.
Right.
And in fact, people are alleging that the government planned this all along. That's why they did not recruit people for 3 years, so that there would be a huge, groundswell of support for a scheme like this whenever they opened it up, because people are desperate.
And the opposite of that has happened.
And also, look at the distressing signal we've given to countries like China, who's sitting inside the borders of our country. That you can contend on whether that's a fact or not, but clearly we need to prepare. And we've sent a message to countries like China that our government cannot foot the pension bill.
Yeah.
That's the only argument government is making, that we need to cut down the bill. We need a younger force. We need a more technocratic force.
But even that point, Jayant, even that point is bizarre, because if this is a cost-cutting scheme, there has been zero government announcement saying how much they're going to actually save per year and what percentage of that is going to go towards capital expenditure. There has been no explanation of that. No number which has been shared.
A lot of the pension is actually going to civilians.
Yeah, and so if the scheme has actually taken place to make us a leaner and meaner fighting force with new weapons, there has been no announcement of where this saved money is actually going to go.
Don't give them ideas, they'll come up with some propaganda around that.
Final question to you, Jayant. You know, it is so important to call for peace at this stage. What is your appeal to people, and do say this in Hindi because it's being watched, to people in your area to desist from violence?
देखिए, मैं यही कहूंगा नौजवानों को, हम सब आपके साथ हैं। सरकार पे भी आपका हक है, सरकार भी आपकी है, संपत्ति भी हमारी है, ये देश भी आपका है। तो बहुत ही संयम और धैर्य से काम लीजिए। किसी को भी बात करने का, विरोध करने का हक है और आपकी सुनवाई भी होगी, लेकिन सुन हम लोग तभी पाएंगे अगर आप अपने आप को संगठित करें। तो हिंसा जब तक होगी, कोई भी आके आपके बीच बात नहीं सुन पाएगा, सरकार तक आपकी बात नहीं पहुंच पाएगी, कोई हल नहीं निकल पाएंगे। और आज मुख्यधारा में जो आपके प्रति भावना है, जो लोग इस बात को समझ रहे हैं कि आपके साथ बुरा हुआ है, आपके साथ हैं, जब हिंसा भड़केगी और उनको हानि पहुंचेगी, बहुत से लोग हट जाएंगे, तो आंदोलन कमजोर हो जाएगा।